I think a bad deal is worse than no deal. There are alternatives to not having a deal, and one of them would, as stated by very senior Treasury official recently, is that they would work with Congress to increase pressure on Iran. I think one of the mistakes is to think that somehow if there's no deal that it's war.
That's David Albright, the founder of the group Science and International Security on MSNBC, again to update what is going on. Negotiations will continue. The deadline turned out not to be much of a deadline. You see the headline there from our parent website, Newsmax.com. As we welcome you back in for Hour 2 of America's Forum on this Tuesday with Miranda Kahn, J.D. Hayworth, we're so pleased to be joined now by David Rubin, the former mayor of Shiloh, Israel, and the author of the new book, Sparks from Zion. We are also joined out of Newsmax LA by our good friend, political analyst and Newsmax contributor, Larry Elder. David, got to talk to you. It now appears these talks are going to continue. Are you concerned about that?
Well, the talks in general are very concerning. I think that we have to focus not just on the fine details of the possible agreement that's going to be signed, but the broader situation here. I mean, we're talking about a country whose supreme leader shouts death to America, death to Israel, enthusiastically, I might add. This is a serious, serious problem. We're not talking about a people who can be trusted with any agreement. This is a government, a ruling class in Iran that believes in taqiyya, that believes in what is called deception to further the cause of Islam. They cannot be trusted, and I think that Israel is going to have to be prepared to go it alone, and I hope that Israel's new government will be able to do that.
David, hasn't the IAEA said that Iran is already cheating, already failing to give them the entree that they want, and hasn't Iran now said that they want the sanctions removed right away?
Well, that comes as no surprise that they're already cheating, and they'll continue cheating. You know, it reminds me of former President Ronald Reagan, who negotiated with Gorbachev of this former Soviet Union, and I remember his motto was "Trust and verify." But here we have a problem because we're not talking about a situation where the nemesis can be trusted in any way, and it's a very, very difficult task to verify any form of agreement. So I think the best thing is to bypass the agreement and take the military action against them.
How does this affect the United States relationship with Israel, in your opinion?
Well, the fact that President Obama has been dead set against any form of military action and has been running after this agreement, as the Iranian leaders have said, begging for an agreement, it doesn't bode well for the relationship, at least between the Obama administration and the Netanyahu administration. But at the same time, we know that America does stand with Israel against the multiple threats that we're facing, and it's not just a question of the Obama administration and Netanyahu, and it certainly doesn't have anything to do with their personal relationship or a personality clash.
But you said something, David, that perked my ears up, and I think a lot of other people as well, the two words military action. If you were advising Prime Minister Netanyahu today, would it be for Israel to take unilateral military action against Iran at this stage?
Well, military action is something that isn't being spoken about much right now. The politicians certainly don't talk about it, and even in Israel, the Israeli politicians don't talk about it publicly that much. But the fact is that is the only thing that is going to stop these madmen. And yes, I am saying that Israel needs to take military action, preemptive action. It would be very difficult because the nuclear program is located in several different locations. and much of it is underground. But I think that Israel has to demand from the United States government passive support and a blessing to go ahead and do what needs to be done. I don't think Obama is going to do it, certainly, but I think that Israel will have to be prepared to do the job.
Well, David Rubin, as you might expect, this call for unilateral military action prompts several more questions, so we ask you to stay there in Newsmax New York. Back with more from David Rubin when we continue here on America's Forum. With Miranda Kahn, J.D. Hayworth, let's continue our conversation with David Rubin, the former mayor of Shiloh, Israel, and the author of the book Sparks from Zion. He's at our Newsmax New York headquarters, and from Newsmax LA, our good friend Larry Elder is there as well. Now, David, the title of your book, Sparks from Zion, you understand this call for unilateral military action sets off some sparks here in the United States. You understand that, correct?
Yes, I do understand that. It doesn't mean that it shouldn't be said. We have to look at the situation as it is. Everyone is busy analyzing, until they're blue in the face, this agreement and the fine details of the agreement, how many centrifuges they'll be allowed, how much uranium enrichment the Iranians will be allowed, and whether they're going to ship their fuel to the Soviet Union. To Russia. I think that we have to look at the situation as it is, and the reality of the situation tells me that negotiation is not going to solve this problem. And they're going to continue forward with the nuclear program. What are we going to do about it? And the military option has to be on the table, and not just sitting there on the table, but I sincerely believe that it has to be used. And hopefully it will be used in a cooperative way with Israel and the United States working together.
David, our top spy, James Clapper, is the head of the National Intelligence Director, and he publicly said a few days ago that Iran is already a nuclear power, that they've got the means, the know-how. The Ayatollah just hasn't made the decision to weaponize. He said they already are a nuclear power. Are they?
Well, they don't actually have the bomb. Do they have the ability to produce the bomb? From what I understand, yes, they do. And it's just it's just a matter of a decision that they're ready to go forward. When they're ready to go forward, when they have everything that they need to go forward, then they will certainly have the know-how to go ahead and produce the bomb.
So here's a question that everybody wants to know right now. Is this potential deal causing Israel to seek unlikely alliances? Take a look at this website article. The Independent, UK's version, posted this, and it talks about Israel and Saudi Arabia possibly joining forces. How likely is that?
Well, that's one of the more interesting intrigue in the Middle East. The Soviet Union, the Saudi Arabia continues to agitate against the Iranian nuclear program. And there have been secret consultations between Israel and Saudi Arabia. And I believe that there would be secret cooperation between Israel and Saudi Arabia. There doesn't seem to be a question. They are as against or more against the Iranian nuclear program than Israel is.
With 2 minutes remaining, as intriguing as the possibility is of an alliance between Saudi Arabia and Israel against Iran, I want to turn attention back to the domestic situation in Israel and a political alliance that seems to be developing. Republican Senator Mitch McConnell, the Republican leader in the U.S. Senate, was just in Israel this weekend. We understand Speaker John Boehner is there to visit with Prime Minister Netanyahu. What about a political coalition of Likud in Israel and the Republican Party in the United States? Do Israelis see these visits and think that's what's happening?
Oh, it's certainly what is happening. However, Prime Minister Netanyahu will will never say so publicly. Israel has long benefited from a bipartisan alliance in favor of Israel and in support of Israel. There are many Democrats that support Israel. We have Congressman Menendez who has sponsored the bill against the Iranian nuclear program. So there are Democrats who stand with Israel in these times. But the reality of the situation is that in the long term, the Republican Party seems to be the party that is standing with Israel consistently and certainly much more enthusiastically.
David Rubin is the former mayor of Shiloh, Israel, and the author of the new book, Sparks from Zion. You certainly have given us a lot to talk about and a lot to think about. We appreciate your very candid comments this morning from Newsmax New York. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Now, Larry Elder is going to stay right there at Newsmax LA, and when we come back, we're going to talk with Sargis Sangari about the continued persecution of Christians in the Middle East. Some call it a new Holocaust, a genocide. We'll get the assessment of Sargis Sangari as we continue, as America's Forum continues, from Newsmax TV.